Hello everybody. In today's video, I'm gonna be giving a basically all-encompassing opinion when it comes to my thoughts about endgame difficulty for these types of gacha games, right? Because I've talked about a lot of them separately. However, I think now especially is an amazing time to really go out on this topic, since before it was basically just HSR and Genshin being bashed on by both ZZZ players and WUA players. However, now with the Shiyu defense rework and massive levels of HP inflation in ZZZ's DA, alongside the HP inflation and rework to TOA, plus the new endgame mode addition of Double Pawns Matrix, it is basically everybody is the fucking same, right? Like everybody at this point is sitting at the exact same table, right? So, in my opinion, it is more understandable for these types of gacha games to cater towards their skill issue casual audience, right? And I think that should be what they go for a majority of the time, if not all the time, instead of making endgames where you either need an absurd level of investment or you can clear with an understandable level of investment, but you need to be, above average in the game, right? Now, I believe this because that's kind of what these games are targeted towards to begin with in the first place, right? I want to give an example. I actually got into gacha from playing competitive multiplayer games my entire life, right? I was semi-pro in multiple of them. I was pro in one when I was very, very young. However, the game ended up shutting down a few years later and I couldn't play it anymore on NA, right? And it was fun, right? I genuinely find fun in that. Playing multiplayer games, being competitive, learning and adapting to simply become the better player. However, in my opinion, when it comes to like multiplayer competitive games and gachas like these, they are vastly different in terms of the reward that you get for your skill level, right? For example, in this game, basically all characters have a set amount of cap damage they can do, even once you hit its so-called skill ceiling, if you go out of your way to learn the most optimal rotation, which even then isn't really that difficult. It's just that most people procrastinate against it, because once again, the audience of this game is casual players, so they're going to be putting in casual effort, right? Or honestly, no effort. That's actually more common in these games, right? So you have to learn basically a new rotation for every single character. However, at some point you are capped. You can no longer grow any stronger with that character. And then on top of this, you don't really need to adapt at all to to your enemies, right? The enemies in these games are usually incredibly straightforward. They don't have very difficult or challenging movesets. You can probably learn and predict their movements after simply fighting them a couple times, get your normal rotations off, and bam, right? It's easy peasy, it's all done. In my opinion, these gachas go out of their way to make a lot of artificial difficulty, which is by putting a million restrictions on the player and then massively HP inflating the same enemy you've been going against for a long time, as compared to giving you a new and actually refreshing challenge, right? Others can feel free to disagree. There's absolutely nothing wrong if you feel challenged by the new endgames in WUA or the Shiyu defense rework in ZZZ. However, in my opinion, they are shallow in terms of, a challenge. They are really just massively inflated endgames with a shit ton of restrictions on the player and the way that they are supposed to play, so that people are more incentivized, if they do have skill issue, to invest into the newest, strongest character, right? In my opinion, it just doesn't feel like anything great, right? I think the best example I can give here is Where Winds Meet. currently max level on that game. Been playing it pretty consistently, although not every day because I don't like playing when there's a level cap, right? But I've been playing it, I've been upgrading my gear, I've been getting like gold stats on absolutely everything, and I think Where Winds Meet does it perfectly for me. Right now, technically, Where Winds Meet doesn't really have a serious endgame, in my opinion, at least so far. However, when it comes to the way that they do bosses and challenging bosses the further you progress, it is so much better than a lot of these other anime gacha games, which I'm talking about here. Every single new boss has a new moveset, and of course, they can be, predicted, right? You can learn them after fighting the boss a few times. However, there are some that are incredibly difficult, and also once you start getting to higher levels, these bosses suddenly have more difficult movesets, right? So they unlock new moves, they can be much more challenging to deal with. However, not only this, basically every time you progress through the story, and especially when you make it to the second region, I believe Kaifeng, you get bosses that suddenly have like a minion next to them, right? Like a second mini boss that can attack you while the boss is also attacking you, or maybe the boss is down. That Phoenix can still hit you from one of the bosses. I don't remember her name, right? So they have this constantly increasing difficulty for bosses, and it's incredibly fun, incredibly refreshing, and they're constantly adding more and more bosses and content like this. That's what I'd love to see, right? I would love it if Wua's Double Pawns Matrix actually put in new enemies that had mechanics that people could take advantage of, various move sets that people would have to actually adapt to, and they're new, right? Like not just an old enemy that someone's been fighting for fucking ever, right? Since a year ago, and they're still refreshing in the exact same endgame. So that's kind of my entire thought process when it comes to endgame in these anime gacha games, because they're more so artificial difficulty instead of a real challenge that most would feel incredibly proud of overcoming. I think it's a good thing to actually lean more towards the skill issue side, the casual side of the player bases and their ability to clear, instead of trying to push these new endgames to have significantly more difficulty and make the casual player feel like it's, well, artificial, right? It's either they have to fully learn the optimal rotations for the characters they have, which they probably just don't feel like doing for one or two pulls, or if they do care that much, they will further invest into their teams and then feel like they're kind of being hoed, right? Because ZZZ Shiyu Defense Rework basically just made it a separate version of DA with its own gimmick. You get a 5x multiplier, and it's based off of the amount of damage you do against enemies, your points. However, after 1 minute is up, your multiplier starts decreasing rapidly. So you want to get as much damage off as possible within the first minute. If you are a casual player, an average player who isn't really paying too much attention to the game or how to play your characters, this would obviously hurt you the absolute most, because you're probably not doing an optimal rotation, you're taking way longer than you should, and so before, when this would be fine because you can take full advantage of the timer, now you are actively being punished for having bad rotation. So you are incentivized, hey, right, learn this character's optimal rotation, learn to not make so many mistakes, learn to, pop everything that your characters have at the right time against the enemy, and you will be rewarded for that. However, at the same time, they're still giving Shiyu and as well as DA significant levels of HP inflation. So the viability of just get better, especially for people who don't have as much investment in their teams, will eventually go away. The exact same thing applies to Wua's Double Pawns Matrix. Now, Wua's Double Pawns Matrix, the new endgame mode, is on a entirely different level as compared to the Shiyu defense rework in terms of difficulty, in my opinion. The Shiyu defense rework, I also forgot to mention, switched it to 3 teams instead of 2, which is scummy in my opinion, but whatever. Double Pawns Matrix and Wua, if you want to full clear it, is diabolical, right? Like, it is absolutely insane the amount of investment you need, especially in characters, because you can't share echoes or weapons to full clear that thing and get the 58k points. I'm seeing videos of people who are like top 1%ers in terms of understanding how to play WUA characters, and for them to hit this 58k mark, they need at least like 7 premium teams of 2.x DPSs. The requirements are absolute fucking insanity, right? However, if you're only going for Asterite, it is easier. I will say that if you only care about the Asterite, it is much easier as compared to going for the full score. However, no one's really ever used this, oh, just get the Asterite, don't care about full clearing the endgame thing for any of the other games. This excuse is basically only used for, what's it called? WUA's Double Pawns Matrix, right? Like as a complete cope. Oh, it's just for the whale players and give them something, whatever, right? So yeah, that's my entire opinion. I don't give a shit about these whale endgame modes like Double Pawns Matrix, Stygian Onslaught, and as well as Anomaly Arbitration. I think they can go fuck themselves, not because of, oh, it's too difficult for me, because it's not like I can't clear it if I obviously had the characters for it, and I have been clearing Anomaly Arbitration on my HSR accounts quite often. It's just that they're a big fuck you in my opinion, right? They require an unhealthy level of investment that is so unrelatable to the average casual player. I just see it as something trying to milk the player, right? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think everybody should be held to the standard of like a top 5% or top 1%er player in these gacha games? I don't think they should, because in my opinion, these gacha games should be taken incredibly casually, and so the so-called end games should still be able to be cleared by a casual player decently easily, right? Just my opinion. You don't need to agree with me. I've seen a lot of people on my channel disagreeing with me, and that's fine. Last thing I want to add in here, I recently made a post on Julius CH because I've been subscribed to this guy and watching his videos for a very long time at this point. And after 1.6 years, he said in his description, he can no longer clear TOA with only 4 stars. He had to pull out the Zhang Liao, he had to pull out the SK, and he's like, holy fuck, dude, this one like Knight in the newest TOA has insanely inflated HP. Now, I myself haven't been able to play this new TOA reset yet, because this account is NA and it literally just reset, so I'm going to play in a little bit, but Jesus, he wasn't trolling. I think that Knight has like 1 million HP or higher, right? Absolutely insane for a 3 cost. So that's what really stumped him, and yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you, like, WUA has its HP inflation, it has its power creep. People who deny it are absolutely stupid. I got a comment when I posted this on my community post saying, rip to the goat, big ups to him for doing it for this long, of, oh, you know, why are you posting stuff like this? Basically saying, why are you posting the reality of the TOA instead of lying about it? No, Gabby, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, like everybody in the comments is now bashing WUA. It's like, so? Like, have you seen how many posts I've made on the HP inflation and HSR and how openly people bash it? Nobody has a problem over there. Stop crying about me rightfully pointing out the bullshit that's going on in WUA's endgame right now. The difficulty spikes that they are doing are absolute fucking insanity. They did a TOA rework to add 2 floors that are like twice as difficult as compared to the other 2 middle floors, then proceeded to do significant HP inflation, then proceeded to mask it as if Toon Break was the reason for it. Guess what? No, it fucking wasn't. WeWa's next reset is going to get 20% HP inflation, and now they're releasing the most whaley endgame I've ever seen in my entire life that requires an absurd amount of teams to actually max clear. This game is getting off of its fucking rocker. Whoever is controlling the endgame difficulty for this game is genuinely smoking some of the hardest stuff I've ever fucking seen, right? Because they took a complete 180 in terms of the difficulty of the endgame. It's absolutely insane. And please do not only hate one game, right? Like, it's mainly the WUA community that is so goddamn defensive when you talk about HP inflation and power creep, but I need not mention this applies to all these games. This applies to HSR and its bullshit HP inflation and MOC, it's bullshit HP inflation and pure fiction, it's anomaly arbitration where the knights are significantly more difficult as compared to before. This applies to ZZZ's DA HP inflation, its Shiyu defense rework just being more predatory. This applies to Genshin Siege and Onslaught, and sometimes having very specific restrictions to where you need to have like a certain reaction, certain characters on your team to actually fight and fully take advantage of a boss. Right? Like, all of these games deserve to get shit on when they do some fucking insane endgame difficulty spikes like they are now. But please, to my WUA audience watching this video, understand, this is not like something I only hold WUA up to. I have been making videos about HSR's predatory ass HP inflation since before it really became a topic to talk about. Legit, since early Pentacony, Sparkle's banner. I received an insane amount of hate on this channel from HSR players back then who were in the honeymoon phase, saying, oh, right, this is just one spike of HP inflation. You don't know what it's going to be like for the rest of the version. It could just stagnate. Like, are you fucking kidding me, right? Are you genuinely slow? How many gacha games do we have to go off of right now that show an obvious pattern of constant HP inflation? So fucking many. It's okay to not be in denial. I mean, WUA is still an absolutely amazing game. I play WUA, and especially Bleach Soul Resonance, more than I've played any of the other Hoyo games as of late. I have Starlit Homecoming, which is what you get when you don't play the game for 2 to 3 weeks or more, on both of my main accounts. Right? So understand this, I'm not no fucking Hoyo shill. I've gone out of my way to criticize the fuck out of Hoyo. I even criticized that entire Archer Lycone thing that a bunch of people didn't agree with me on. I am someone with his own opinions, right? There's no point in defending any of these predatory gacha companies, although, of course, you can feel free to disagree with me. I just beg, please do not blindly hate me or blindly accuse me of being something I'm not. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Peace out.